What if I told you Toyota just blindsided the entire EV industry with a vehicle no one saw coming? Not a compact city car, not another crossover, but a full-size 9-seater, and it's not even a traditional EV. In one bold move, Toyota has challenged everything we thought we knew about the future of mobility. If you want the full story, and trust me, it's wild, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. At a press event in Tokyo, Toyota CEO Koji Sato stepped up to the podium and dropped what can only be described as an industry earthquake. For decades, Toyota has dominated the sedan, SUV, and hybrid markets, but this time, they're venturing into an entirely new category, a 9-passenger vehicle that sits somewhere between a commercial van and a family SUV. In a world where most car makers are fighting over compact EVs, Toyota is heading in a completely different direction, targeting a segment that's both underserved and exploding in demand. And the numbers back it up. Global demand for vehicles with more than 7 seats is growing at an annual rate of over 6%, especially in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa, where large families and group transport aren't niche, they're the norm. In countries like Indonesia, over 30% of households own or lease a vehicle with at least 7 seats, and ride-hailing operators are desperate for bigger, cleaner, and more cost-efficient vehicles for everything from airport shuttles to tourist transport. But here's where Toyota really twists the knife in the EV playbook. This isn't a pure battery electric vehicle, nor is it a standard hybrid. Sato's words were carefully chosen. The technology, he said, would outlast battery-only EVs. It's a cryptic but deliberate signal, pointing towards something Toyota has quietly been perfecting for years: hydrogen fuel cells, potentially combined with solid-state batteries. That's right, a dual energy system that could sidestep the 2 biggest EV headaches: range anxiety and charging downtime. The timing couldn't be more aggressive. This reveal landed just weeks before the Tokyo Mobility Show, where BYD, Mercedes, and a handful of startups were preparing to showcase their own large-capacity EV concepts. Instead, Toyota stole the narrative overnight. Investor reaction was immediate. Shares jumped 4.1% within 24 hours, adding roughly $8.6 billion in market value. For context, that's more than Rivian's entire revenue last year in a single day of trading. Why a 9-seater? Because in the emerging market race, capacity is king. Fleet operators and government agencies need high passenger vehicles to meet both public demand and looming emissions mandates. Right now, only about 1.2% of the world's large-capacity passenger vehicles are fully electric, a number held back by battery weight, cost, and limited range. The few options out there, like the Mercedes EQV, can cost over $10,000 per seat, making them economically unviable for most fleets. Toyota's goal? Drive that cost below $3,500 per seat, a figure that would instantly shift fleet buying decisions across Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe. Add to that the incentive game. Governments from Japan to Singapore to the UAE are offering subsidies of up to $20,000 per large electric or alternative fuel vehicle. If Toyota can hit its price and efficiency targets, those subsidies could make their 9-seater cheaper to buy and run than many diesel vans, flipping the cost equation overnight. Under the skin, the rumored specs are where things get seriously interesting. Leaks suggest the vehicle will be built on a modular platform capable of running in 3 modes: pure hydrogen fuel cell for long-haul and fleet operations, a fuel cell solid-state hybrid for mixed use, and a full BEV setup for markets with robust charging infrastructure. The solid-state battery tech alone is a potential game-changer. Toyota's own lab data shows energy density 2.4 times higher than current lithium-ion cells, with the ability to recharge in just 10 minutes. Pair that with a carbon fiber-wrapped hydrogen tank that's 15% lighter and holds 20% more fuel than the one in the Mirai sedan. And you've got range and efficiency numbers that could crush today's electric vans. Even the drivetrain has been overhauled. A new e-axle developed in partnership with Aisin reportedly cuts energy losses by 18%, squeezing every possible kilometer out of the powertrain. For operators running 200 to 300 kilometers a day, those efficiency gains translate directly into lower operating costs, the kind of math fleet buyers notice immediately. And this isn't a one-off experiment. The platform's modular design means Toyota can adapt it for different regions, maybe all hydrogen in Japan, hybrid in India, and pure BEV in Norway, without redesigning the entire vehicle. That flexibility is exactly what competitors like Tesla, BYD, and Mercedes lack in this segment, and it positions Toyota to tailor its technology for the most promising growth markets, the very places where infrastructure gaps and high passenger demand make a one-size-fits-all EV approach impossible. That's why Toyota's choice of target markets is laser-focused. Southeast Asia and Africa are experiencing rapid urbanization, with populations flooding into cities faster than infrastructure can keep up. In these regions, charging networks are patchy at best, often limited to a few urban hubs, and the idea of building out an EV supercharger grid in rural or suburban areas is years, if not decades, away. Yet the demand for high-capacity people movers is soaring. Public transport systems are overcrowded, and private solutions are often too expensive for the average family or operator. This is fertile ground for a vehicle that can move 9 people in comfort while bypassing the infrastructure bottleneck altogether. Ride-hailing giants are also in the crosshairs. Companies like Grab in Southeast Asia and Careem in the Middle East have fleets dominated by sedans and SUVs, but their most profitable routes, airport transfers, corporate shuttles, and group travel, all demand 7 to 9 seats. These companies are under intense pressure from both regulators and customers to cut emissions, but their current large vehicle offerings are almost entirely diesel. Toyota's platform offers them a way to hit sustainability targets without sacrificing range or uptime, both critical in high-utilization businesses where every hour of downtime means lost revenue. Tourism presents another gold mine. Pre-pandemic, the UAE alone logged more than 15 million tourist transfers annually in large vans, a number now rebounding aggressively. The push toward greener tourism is no longer just marketing fluff. It's being written into law. Dubai's Roads and Transport Authority, for example, has set aggressive emission reduction mandates for tour operators. A hydrogen or hybrid fuel cell 9-seater could meet those rules while delivering the long range needed for desert safaris, inter-emirate tours, and airport-to-hotel shuttles. Government fleets are also quietly shifting. In countries like Indonesia and Thailand, ministries and municipal agencies are replacing diesel-powered transport with low-emission options as part of national decarbonization plans. The catch is that these fleets require vehicles that are cost-effective, easy to service locally, and durable enough for mixed-use urban and rural routes. Toyota's long-standing reputation for reliability in these markets gives it an instant trust advantage, and the modular fuel options make it adaptable even in regions without hydrogen refueling stations. School transport is a niche, but significant opportunity. In cities like Tokyo and Seoul, regulations are tightening on small school buses, and operators are seeking sub-10-seat electric or hydrogen options that still offer the safety and range of larger models. Toyota's design could slide into this space with minimal modification, giving it yet another revenue stream. What makes this strategy stand out is how deliberately it avoids Tesla's territory. While the rest of the industry chases the high-volume sedan and SUV segments dominated by Model 3, Model Y, and their rivals, Toyota has sidestepped into a sector where Tesla has no footprint and little short-term interest. Instead of building entirely new factories, Toyota can leverage its existing Hilux and Hi-Ace production lines, retrofitting them for the new energy platform. This keeps capital expenditure low and speeds up time to market, allowing them to price competitively from day one. There's also a fuel diversity hedge at play. By offering both hydrogen and battery electric configurations on the same platform, Toyota isn't betting the farm on a single energy source. If hydrogen adoption stalls, they can push battery models. If battery costs spike or charging networks lag, they can pivot fleets toward fuel cells. This flexibility could prove decisive in markets where infrastructure development is unpredictable. Local assembly is another tactical advantage. Toyota plans to assemble these vehicles within target markets, avoiding steep import tariffs and allowing for faster parts supply. This not only keeps prices down, but also supports local economies, a factor that often weighs heavily in government procurement decisions. Coupled with Toyota's position as the #1 brand in perceived reliability across Asia and Africa, it's a 1-2 punch that commercial buyers find hard to ignore. But even with all these strengths, the technical challenges are formidable. Hydrogen infrastructure is still a glaring weakness. There are fewer than 1,200 public hydrogen refueling stations worldwide, and most are clustered in Japan, Germany, and California. Expanding that network into Toyota's target markets will require partnerships, subsidies, and years of build-out. Solid-state battery production is another bottleneck. Toyota's pilot plant currently produces only around 5 megawatt-hours per year, enough for prototypes and testing, but nowhere near what's needed for mass production. Scaling this technology while keeping costs in check is a race against time, especially with competitors like KTL and Samsung SDI moving aggressively in the same space. Durability in extreme climates is non-negotiable. A hydrogen tank designed for Tokyo winters must still perform safely in the plus 45 degrees Celsius heat of Dubai or the sub-zero mornings of Johannesburg. That means rigorous testing, advanced materials, and safety systems that can handle thermal extremes without adding prohibitive weight. And weight is the other trade-off. A fully loaded 9-seater with passengers and luggage can easily top 3 tons. Balancing that payload with a range above 500 kilometers without making the vehicle prohibitively expensive is a delicate engineering act. Finally, service network readiness could make or break adoption. Even the most advanced vehicle will fail in the market if operators can't get it repaired quickly and affordably. That means retraining Toyota's vast dealer network in emerging markets to handle hydrogen systems, solid-state batteries, and advanced electronics before the first units ever roll off the line. And Toyota can't afford to solve these problems in isolation, because the competition is already moving. BYD, the Chinese EV powerhouse, is quietly accelerating work on a 9-seat electric MPV powered by LFP batteries, aiming for a base price around $40,000. That's still significantly higher than Toyota's target, but BYD's aggressive manufacturing capacity and dominance in Southeast Asia make them a formidable first-line rival. Mercedes is preparing a 2025 refresh for its EQV, promising longer range and faster charging in an effort to maintain its grip on the premium airport shuttle and corporate transport markets. Over in the US, Ford and GM had quietly shelved their large EV van plans in recent years due to weight, cost, and range limitations. But if Toyota's launch proves the economics can work, both Detroit giants may have to dust off their design boards. Meanwhile, a handful of smaller Chinese hydrogen startups like Hyzon and Grove Automotive are carving out niche spaces, targeting municipal fleets and specialty transport where zero-emission mandates are coming faster than infrastructure. And then there's Tesla, still silent. Despite dominating headlines in most EV categories, it has no true multi-passenger product on its roadmap. The Cybertruck's form factor doesn't suit high-capacity fleet service, leaving this corner of the market wide open for Toyota to claim. For Toyota, the math could be decisive. Their internal target is to keep the retail price under $35,000, a figure far below the current large EV market average of $62,000. In fleet calculations, the economics tilt even further in their favor. Hydrogen fuel at $6 per kilogram already compares favorably with diesel at $1.20 per liter in high-mileage operations, especially when amortized over a multi-year fleet contract. For an operator running 100,000 kilometers a year, the break-even point could come in under 3 years. A game-changer in sectors like airport transfers and urban shuttle services, where margins are tight. The technical specs add another layer of appeal. Toyota's solid-state cells are projected to retain 90% capacity after 800,000 kilometers, meaning fewer replacements and lower downtime. The fuel cell stack itself, thanks to design simplification and improved thermal management, could require 40% less maintenance than an equivalent diesel engine. For a high-utilization fleet, that translates to a projected 9,500 annual savings compared to diesel, a number that makes procurement managers lean forward. But this isn't just a product play, it's a strategic positioning move that plugs directly into Toyota's long-term ambitions. The company's Beyond Zero initiative aims to decarbonize all transport categories, not just personal cars. That includes buses, delivery trucks, and now mid-sized people movers, a segment no major EV maker has seriously claimed. The vehicle's modular chassis can be adapted for cargo vans, ambulances, or even camper configurations with minimal retooling, giving Toyota a platform that can serve multiple verticals with the same production investment. To make the hydrogen side of the equation work, Toyota is partnering with energy companies to co-develop fueling infrastructure in key launch markets, ensuring that range anxiety isn't just shifted from batteries to hydrogen tanks. Politically, they are leveraging deep relationships in Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore, securing policy backing and, in some cases, direct government fleet contracts. And from a brand reputation standpoint, this move helps counter the growing narrative that Toyota is lagging behind in the EV race, a narrative that has dogged them in Western media even as they quietly invest billions in next-gen battery and hydrogen systems. By positioning this vehicle as both a commercial workhorse and a clean mobility solution, Toyota isn't just entering a new category. It's planting a flag in a territory that might define the next decade of transport. But staking out new territory also means navigating new risks. Hydrogen's price advantage could vanish if subsidies are reduced or global supply tightens, driving up fueling costs and stretching payback periods for operators. The timeline for solid-state battery integration, already ambitious, could slip past 2028 if manufacturing scale-up hits bottlenecks. And while hydrogen fuel cells require fewer rare earth metals than electric motors, they still depend on a vulnerable global supply chain, one increasingly shaped by geopolitical tension between resource-heavy nations and manufacturing hubs. Then there's the perception challenge. Decades of safety skepticism around hydrogen, fueled by both myths and high-profile accidents in other industries, will need to be addressed with rigorous marketing, safety records, and visible use cases. On top of that, the clock is ticking. If a player like BYD or Tata Motors pushes out a cheaper, less sophisticated alternative that meets minimum fleet requirements before Toyota hits scale, price-sensitive buyers might lock in contracts elsewhere. Market analysts are weighing the variables. Morgan Stanley's transportation desk calls Toyota's approach low risk, high potential, contingent on parallel infrastructure investment to make hydrogen fueling practical beyond pilot programs. UBS estimates that if the rollout sticks to schedule and performance matches projections, Toyota could secure 3% of the global large passenger vehicle market by 2030, a modest-sounding figure that in this niche represents billions in annual revenue. Bloomberg NEF takes the wider view, projecting hydrogen mobility as a $700 billion global industry by 2050, with commercial fleets as the earliest large-scale adopters. Fleet buyer surveys are already showing cracks in resistance. 61% of operators say they would switch to hydrogen if lifetime costs equaled or beat diesel, even before factoring in environmental benefits. Japanese media, meanwhile, has framed the project as Toyota's second Prius moment, a potential repeat of how the company took hybrid technology from curiosity to global standard. The stakes extend beyond product success. If Toyota executes on its promises, it could reshape its legacy, moving from the company that perfected hybrids to the company that made hydrogen mainstream. That shift would ripple through the global automotive hierarchy, forcing rivals to hedge against an EV-only strategy and diverting R&D into alternative large-capacity transport solutions. The environmental upside is just as dramatic. Large-scale replacement of diesel vans and shuttles could cut millions of tons of CO2 annually, making a measurable dent in transport sector emissions. Nationally, the move positions Japan as more than just a follower in the battery-electric transition. It casts the country as a technology leader in what some are calling post-EV mobility. And buried beneath all the corporate forecasts and fleet procurement spreadsheets is the deeper competitive question. If Toyota can prove hydrogen viable at scale, will the narrative of an inevitable all-battery future begin to crumble?